Okay, today's job is to install some photovoltaic panels to the top of the camper van. I'm just going to turn it around so you can see it. This is a 100-watt panel, 12 volts, and that's going to go on top of the van, which is here. So before I stick it up there, I'm just going to check that it's functioning properly. I've just screwed the brackets on, and I'm just going to do a load test on it to make sure it's functioning properly, because we don't want to put them up and find they don't work. Right, I've just measured the voltage. Bearing in mind they're not directly facing into the sun, they measured at about 22 volts, which means they are generating power, so that's fine. So I'm now going to get ready to take them up and put them on the roof. Right, I've laid the panel on the top of the vehicle with the cables trailing out this way, so that when they go to the joins they'll be under the other panel so they won't get wet. Okay, so I've got it as straight as it needs to look, and I'm just about to screw them down. Now, unfortunately, I've just measured the depth of bolt. Now this bolt on the left is the one they supply. You can see it's quite short. The one on the right, where the black mark is, represents the true depth I've got to get to. You'll notice it's about 1 centimetre short. So fortunately, I've got another set of bolts in my kit which is going to be just long enough. So that's a real pain, because at the moment I've only got 4 and I need 8, but at least I can get this first panel on. Now, as can be seen from these 2 bolts coming down, the actual size once tightened up is there's quite a bit of extra overhang. So chances are the bolts might have been the right size, it's just that I couldn't access them because of the thickness of the carpet and whatever. But once tightened, so at least that gives me a clue as to what to do on the 2 front ones. Well, the 4 securing bolts are now in, so I'm just going to go up on top and do a voltage check and see how much juice the panel's generating now it's exposed to the sun correctly. With the panel now in place and the wires connected up, it's generating 22 volts at the moment. Bear in mind it's a 12 volt panel and it's open circuit. That's what I'd expect, so that's okay. We're ready to install number 2. Okay, so the second panel is now fixed into place. I've done this one with wing nuts, as I had some long shafts with wing nuts. And here's all the cabling. I've just checked the voltage and it's running at 24 volts. So now it's just a matter of connecting up these so that they're in parallel, which means you would still have about 22 volts, but you'll have something like nearly 20 amps on full go, which is a massive amount of power for a van of this size. Okay, they're now paralysed, or put in parallel. That will be the earth, or the negative, and that is the positive. So I should now, if I measure it, get 22 volts but considerably more current. So I'm just about to measure them. Now clearly, because water and electricity don't mix, although those are waterproof joints on the connectors, I'm actually going over them with tape to make sure that the water has no chance whatsoever of getting at the cable. So I'm just going to do the other 2, then I'm going to route them and connect them up to the new cables which go to the charge control unit. I've also put a couple of cable ties on to guide the ropes away, so that anything that is likely to be a joint will be protected from the elements. Now the cables have now been routed in from the outside down here, so as you can see they're by the electrical control console. So they're now going to go in the back of the Zig unit, and I'll stick the charge controller on, and then we should be able to connect the panels up and measure the voltages and currents. Now rather annoyingly, the charge controller has its inputs and outputs on the front. I was hoping they're going to be behind so I could keep them hidden. So my only option really is to put it here on my Zig panel, so that the wires can go through this open slot, and then I can cover that up afterwards. But I'm a bit annoyed about that because that's a bit gash. Sure, I get as good as connection as possible. I've splayed this in 2 and then twisted them, so when they screw in they'll get maximum contact. Otherwise the thing might be getting hot. Now I've got the negative side of the solar system connected up, I'm ready for a power on test. So I'm going to go outside, connect the panels, and then turn on the controller to see whether the USB lights up. Bingo! There's life in the old dog. She's generating 13.8 volts from the solar panels, but obviously she's not powering anything yet. So I'll just see what this button does. Oh, I see. Yeah, when you turn that red button, you can power devices directly off the solar panels. When it's off, it will charge the batteries, but obviously the battery is not connected yet, but it would be charging, so it is working. So what I'm going to do now is get the USB connector on and plug my mobile phone in. Now you can see I plug my USB in. You won't be able to see it because I can't film it plugging into my phone, but you should hear a noise when it connects. Okay, no, it's not charging, so I have to turn it on presumably. Now, what's that done? Anything? Not a fantastic amount that I can see. Try it on the bottom one. Yes, it's telling me my phone is charging. Excellent. What's amazing is it's still generating, it's fluctuating all over the place, but actually the sun's gone down. It's only doing it on ambient light. So you can imagine it's a hell of a lot more juice going to come out during the daytime. I'm surprised it's doing anything, but it's still charging my phone. Now I had a bit of a problem connecting up to the battery. You can see the positive feed's coming into the other side of this crocodile on the battery. Well, the problem was the lead was too short because the positive was at the other end. So all I've done is turn the battery around the other way and clamp that into there. So now we've got a nice firm connection from that and the battery and the rest of the electrical system and the low power inverter that's up here. So all we do is connect the last lead up and we should be a goer. I've completed crimping those cables, but what I've done for the moment is an experiment, is I've disconnected the battery so the solar would power instead of the battery to see how much juice is there. So I'm going to switch on the button for LB2, okay, and then I turn on the power, and here we see there is voltage. Look at that, 13.8 volts. So that is what's coming out of the solar panel, and clearly, even though the sun has gone in, there's enough juice coming in to even charge the battery this late in the day. That is amazing. So I'm now just going to connect the battery back up. Okay, job completed. I've sealed up what I could of the top bit so that the rain can't get in, and they're functioning perfectly.